Namaskar. This is Gita Natyam Samvaada, episode 4, where conversations about the Gita and Natyam come home. Anshika Agarwal, our wonderful guest of the previous episode, had promised to study a verse and share with us her thoughts and understanding. This episode, she has kept up her promise. Let's welcome Anshika.
Namaste, Pavitra ji. Thank you so much for having me back again. So, for today's episode, the verse that I have read is this Karmanye Vadika Raste, Ma Faleshu Kadachana, Ma Karma Fal Heturbhu, Ma Te Sangotsva Karmani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your activity, to your duty. So, this I feel is the most used, most popular, and most quoted words from Gita. And since this quote is everywhere, I think everyone has heard it before actually they have understood it. So, if we actually have to understand this verse, we have to look at the context and the background in which it is being said. So, the context goes like Arjuna is suffering from a total systematic paralysis, what we call as Dharma Sankata. So, for the first 46 verses of chapter 2, Sri Krishna is trying to build the intellectual framework, explaining him what is the eternal nature of the soul, and then only he pivots to from the high level philosophy to the direct call for action. Basically, in layman's language, he's saying that now you have the blueprint of life. Here is how you actively manage your mind on the battlefield, right? So, if you look at the verse, the structure is actually not just one blanket statement. It is a highly sophisticated decision-making matrix where he is split it deliberately into 4 quadrants. So, if we start with one by one, first, karmanye vadika raste. That means you have an absolute right to your inputs, to your actions. If we take an example here, a student prepares for an exam. He has 100% control over his discipline, over his focus, over the time that he is going to manage to do that study, right? But let's come to the second part. Ma faleshu kadachana, which means you have zero entitlement to the final outcomes. Now, if we take the same student example here, it means that the student cannot control, despite 100% study and efforts, cannot control certain biases of, for example, invigilator that is there, the competition level, the examination hall condition, which may impact his examination. So it actually is a lesson in distinguishing what you can control from what merely you can influence as a person. It's a humbling thought to actually just think it like that. And third, ma karma fal heturbhu. Here, Krishna is explicitly saying, never consider yourself to be the cause of the results. As we just discussed, he is actually addressing a human tendency where we tend to think, oh, I can control everything, like we have that innate tendency. But he's telling you that you look at the larger perspective. In this large world, there is only so much that you can influence in life. And that itself makes you understand the difference between control versus influence. And if we come to the last part, anybody can ask after hearing this 3 that if I don't have the control and if lack of control, then I'll just give it up. Why I will try and do certain things. But here in the last line, he addresses that problem as well. He says clearly, Ma te sangotsva karmani, where he is trying, the meaning is never be attached to not doing your duty. Here, very smartly, he has anticipated the human mind and he has said, don't use uncertainty as an excuse. Don't be lazy in doing your actions. We can think of this in a modern way of handling stress. So in modern way, what we do, the moment life gets tough, The moment we deal with certain unpleasant situations, our responses these days are, oh, I'm done with this. I just want to go to mountains. Oh, I can't deal with this right now. I need a vacation. Oh, I am just so tired. Things like that. I can't do this. So that is exactly the modern escapism which Arjuna did. Where he was in a dharma shankat looking at his loved ones there in the battlefield. His hands were trembling.
How can I fight my own people? O Keshava.
Gandhivam sramsate hastat vachaiva paridahyate.
He just wanted to abandon his post, and he just wanted to leave the life of a monk, and he wanted to get away from this mohmaya of the world. He thought that is the option he has, because he was terrified what will the outcomes of this war will be. But this is what commentators like Sri Aurobindo, Swami Chinmayananda, as I showed you in the last episode, point out very beautifully, that this verse is a fierce rejection of that escapism. Krishna asserts that you cannot use in any condition uncertainty as a moral license to abandon your post. You have to do your prescribed duty, your dharma. So when you understand all this four in context together, you understand that this entire verse transforms into a mechanism for mental efficiency. Right? It relieves you of the heavy pressure out of your chest and frees up that cognitive bandwidth so that you can flawlessly work on the task that is there at your hand.
How would you connect this karma yoga to Natyam?
There is this humorous yet profound acronym for our philosophy, which is NATO. That full form becomes not attached to outcomes, right? So Natyam is the ultimate being, the breathing demonstration of NATO, in my perspective. How, you may ask? You take the example of a dancer who's performing in stage, a complex piece of dance. Now, the physical embodiment of this matrix is that Natyam. Why? Because in mid-performance, if a dancer starts thinking and the mind drifts to things like, will I get an award for this? Is the audience happy? Are the judges applauding my performance? Or what will the critics say about my performance? Instantly, you lose the footing. The rhythm breaks and the authenticity of that abhinay completely disappears. You'll understand this better than me, being the professional and amazing Bharatnatyam dancer that you are. So I think if you practice NATO, you're not attached to outcomes. Then your focus entirely is on executing that dance with the best of your capabilities. You are living in the movement. You're dancing to the tunes, to the rhythms, and you just want to give your best at the moment. So at that, it elevates the dance to a different level altogether. And that exactly is literally the karma yoga in practice.
Yes, that's absolutely true. In fact, if the dancer thinks all that you had enumerated, if she thinks of the outcome, if she thinks of the audience, if she thinks of the critics, what she will do is only mistakes on stage.
Yeah.
In fact, we can replace N with Natyam. Natyam or Natyam attached to offering.
Oh, that's better way to put it.
Tajam ta di tattardum. Tajam ta tattardum. Tajam ta tattardum. Tajam ta 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 tajam 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 tajam
have to like conclude in the modern day, because what happens is most of the times we just read the first sentence, which is the most popular part of the verse, karmanye vadikarashti ma phaleshu kadachana. The second line is almost forgotten. So that is why I think it is very important to read things into perspective, which is what our original point was, that you have to read Gita contextually.
Yes.
The root cause of all our misconceptions is that we tear verse 2.47 away from the succeeding verses. But how you have to look at it is verse 2.47 is actually the opening line of the entire dynamic teaching of the Karma Yoga. Because what follows is his guidance towards yoga. He talks about excellence. So it's the opening line to the Karma Yoga. Because to understand this nuance, one line comes to my mind, which is everyone has watched this movie 3 Idiots, right? So there's this iconic dialogue in it. कामयाब होने के लिए नहीं, काबिल होने के लिए पढ़ो. He says, सक्सेस के पीछे मत भागो, एक्सेलेंस का पीछा करो, सक्सेस झक मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी.
हाँ. Very nice, Anshika. Thank you for expounding this verse very beautifully with examples that everyone can relate to. It was very nice to talk to you. We will meet again. Until then, lots of Bhagavan's Krishna's blessings on you.